What's up everybody, this is Hillbillies here, and welcome back to episode 63 of my Minecraft Let's Play series. And you're probably wondering, first of all, what the heck am I doing in a flat world? Well, this is my Xbox One testing world. It's a little bit more empty since all of my testing stuff I did on the 360, and I never transferred the map over, but that's not a problem because it was just test stuff, so I didn't have to worry about that. But I'm here because today I have been working on a mini game. Thanks, of course, to HottyFletch. He's the one that came up with the idea for the game, first of all, and all I did pretty much was say, you know what, it would be cool to have redstone with that. So, you know, once again, thanks to Hotty, and please go and check out his channel. He's got some great ideas and he's got a lot of cool stuff, so please feel free, go check him out. So what it is a fishing game. He had mentioned the idea that, well, what if we had a game that you have to try and fish all 4 kinds of fish, and the first person to get all 4 wins. And I was like, well, that's a really great idea. I was like, you know, some people really enjoy the fishing in the game, and I know that the 2 of us could go and fish together, and it's a little more relaxing, and it's kind of cool. It's a different mini game, so I haven't really seen any of it around, and I decided, you know, well, I like the challenge, so I'm going to add redstone to it. And as you can see, things have kind of evolved slowly over the last couple of days of me trying to do all of this. It started off with this originally. I just needed a design to figure out how could I, you know, get the fish to be recognized. Like, I kind of came up with, you know, he said, you know, well, once you catch all 4 fish, right, the first person wins. And I was like, well, you need an indication then. So that's when I said, oh, well, we need lights. And so you have to have something to activate the light and tell it to turn on when you get the fish. So I started using item sorters here to do that, and that works out pretty well. So then I kind of went and made it bigger because there wasn't enough space. So I designed the playing field here first. This is a little bit different than the one that's over there. I've decided I'm probably going to spend half of the episode in the creative world right now with you guys, and probably the other half in single player, or the whole episode right now in creative, which is very different for me. And maybe next episode I could do some like proper building of it in my regular world. But at least this way I could work on some bugs, do a little bit of fixing things, and maybe you guys could give some more solutions and suggestions and things like that as I go along. It's a lot easier to discuss, and especially something big and redstone-y like this, it's a lot easier to just kind of fly around and talk with you guys this way. So basically, I've kind of been rambling enough about it, but the main idea was that you catch a fish, and the fish ends up in the hopper. Of course, each person has their own side with their own hoppers, and there's lights for each person. So you catch a fish, and depending on what it ends up in, so this item sorter, for example, oops, this item sorter here, a little bit, not too much space, is a clownfish. And then of course you go down the line, you get the raw salmon and the puffer fish and the regular fish. So what happens is it sends out a signal once the item filter has detected that item. I did notice a problem though. I don't know if it's just the Xbox or it's one of the new redstone updates, but this works normally very well. But the problem is it doesn't actually drop this right into it. So I'll give you an example. You can see it's on. But unless I have a fish already in this one, then it'll never go through, and you'd have to catch 2 fish. As you can see, it went, and the light does turn off and everything, but it gets stuck in here because it's too quick for the hopper. So to solve that, I just leave one of the kinds of fish in, and then this one gets replaced by another and drops into the chest, and that activates the redstone. So that was pretty, you know, that was kind of simple. I managed to get that all hooked up and set up, and certain things were working, certain things weren't, and I managed to get, you know, I hooked up, of course, all the redstone, not very nicely. That's why I kind of want to redo it properly over there with you guys today. But I did the first basic thing, which was I need lights. So I managed to hook up everything so that all the lights turn on. Now, after that, I realized, well, there needs to be an indication that you've won. So, of course, that means you have to play some sort of winning sound. So I came up with this. I don't know how perfect it is. It's something, at least. How do I do this now, though, again? Oh, yes, I have to turn up that. Right. It's because this is not powered, as you can see. These are AND gates, by the way. So the way I did this is, like, if I had just a line of redstone leaving for the lamp, it would just go and turn on that, and you'd win every time you got 1 light turned on. So instead, I've added 2 AND, well, technically 3 AND gates to each side now. So what happens is these 2 lights are hooked up to this AND gate. And if you don't know what an AND gate is, basically it means that as you can see, this has power, this light is on, so let's say you've caught the fish. So that light is on. It turns off this torch, but this one is still on. So that means it doesn't get the chance to, this torch doesn't turn and it doesn't send out a signal. So an AND gate means that this only receives power when this and this are powered, therefore the AND gate. There's also like OR gates and all that different kind of stuff, but this is the one that I used. So I've made one for these two lights, and then I added a second one for these two lights. Now, of course, that means that, you know, when these two come on, it sends out a signal, and when these two come on, it sends out a signal, as you can see right here. So I hooked it up to a second AND gate to prevent it from sending off the signal unless all 4 lights have activated. So once all 4 lights activate, I'll even show you. I could probably do it. Is everything still hooked up? Yes, and you can see all the sound is off. So I'll give you an example. Let me go figure out which one of the fish it is that I took out of here. I think it was the clownfish, right? Okay, it's clownfish. So as you can see, the only light that is not on is that one. So let's throw clownfish into the hopper. Give it a couple of seconds. Sometimes takes a little longer, and I'll show you why. Now, I don't know how well you heard that or how loud it was, but you saw the light came on, and momentarily after, the song played. That's because all 4 lights are now lit. These 2 AND gates are now giving power to this, which turns off, turns on this torch, which sends out the power to activate this. The only thing that I have not finished yet is a reset signal, and what I'd like to do for that is basically that once you win the game, I would like, for example, right here, it sends, this is going to have power here. So if I continue to signal out here, I could send a signal back down to the ground maybe 10 seconds after. And it would take all of the items that are in the chest out of them. It would just remove them like this. And then all of the lights on both sides, all of the chests get emptied, and the game is reset to nothing. And you can immediately start playing right after. I haven't hooked this up, but that's kind of why I want to mess around with this with you guys today. So I do apologize if some of you don't enjoy this episode as much, but I've never really done too many, I've done a little bit of redstone and a couple of redstone games, but I find that this is kind of cool getting to build it, and it's a much bigger scale, and I'm using a lot of different stuff. I've used the item filters before, but I've never really had to mix item filters and then AND gates. This is the first time I've ever actually used an AND gate, so I'm kind of learning as I go here. And it's the first mini game I did like this. I haven't, it's thanks to Hottie first of all, of course, again, because he put the idea in my head, and then I just kind of went nuts with it and added a whole bunch of random stuff. You don't technically need to have all the redstone to play it and have fun, but I think it'd be kind of a cool aspect that it auto resets and you don't have to worry about it or anything. And both of us really enjoy redstone and enjoy the mini games, so it's gonna be a lot of fun. But let's go over to this one now. That's I did kind of get a little bit ahead. I wanted to prepare because what I'd like to show you, one of the issues that I ran into was, as you can see, this side not completed, and it only has 1 row of hoppers. This side has 2 rows of hoppers. The reason was because I want the player to be able to run back and forth wherever they want. I don't want them stuck in one space. If I put them in one spot, it would be easy to make sure that every fish is accounted for, right? It would just go into one hopper and that's it. But people can move, though. I want people to be able to move around. Obviously, they won't be able to go to the other side or anything, but they'll remain on their side. So the idea was I just have the hoppers going around in a circle so that since the clownfish, as you know, is on that side, well, if you catch the clownfish over here, it would never make it over there. So I have the hoppers going around in a circle and connecting back so that no matter where you catch it, the fish will always end up in the hopper anyways. Then the problem came that because I did that, all the extra junk never leaves the hoppers. So if you catch a name tag, if you catch rotten flesh, it gets stuck in the system and it just goes around and around and around and around forever. So I tried to mess around with maybe changing some of the hoppers into chests, and then whatever didn't go through would just stay in the chest and I go pick it up after. And then unfortunately I couldn't get anything like that to work. I'm still trying to mess around with the idea in my head, but for now I've just switched over to adding a ton of item sorters, which works out good for certain things like the fish. It's really easy. The difference is with these item sorters, they're moved a little bit backwards and they send a 3 signal pulse so that you can add them all side by side, but they don't, as you can see, even when powered, they don't overflow and activate anything else since they can't go more than 4 blocks. Or more than 3 blocks, so you're pretty much fine. Once, of course, that goes through, it would activate the signal and the item sorter would go through. But I did this because then I can line them all up, and this way I can have all of the items that I want. Like, I can save them all, so I get, if I catch name tags, they'll end up in here, and I can just go along later and collect them. It does become a problem though when the other item filter, you need 18 items, and that stops it. In this one, you need 41. So it's going to be a little harder for me in the beginning to get, 41 name tags, 41 rotten flesh, 41 bows, and all that different kind of stuff. Some stuff might take a while, some stuff might not. So obviously these item sorters are fine, but certain ones, after a little while, I'll have to keep going through because this is just going to be for junk until I am able to, fill them up with something. But in the meantime, I would probably just put like a filler block to make sure that nothing goes through, because obviously these are the only ones with any sort of, with any fish in it. So if I drop a fish into this one, it will go through it. So I need to put a filler block in the meantime to prevent that from happening. And, that would be my solution for now until I'm able to gather enough. But that's, a much later thing since I am going to be building this in survival later. But enough of that. Let's continue with some of the building, and I'll show you kind of what I did. I want to get some of the setup done. Obviously, I have the top area here, and this just needs to be filled up with water. I've changed the look, so it's just hoppers. There's no more ice or anything with water sources underneath. There's no need for that. Since whenever you fish, everything always ends up within 1 or 2 of these blocks here. It never gets stuck in the center, because when you're fishing, luckily, I made this kind of platform here, so when you fish, the fish hits this block before it goes into your inventory, and it drops into the ground, and that's how it works. So the next thing is building this. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of probably just skip ahead a little bit and see if I can hook up some of this redstone, but I want to do it in a nice way. That's why I've given myself some more room. I want it to be very symmetrical and much easier to build, because then, you build one side and then you just copy it into the other. And as you can see, that one kind of looks like a little bit of a mess. And once I need to, cover it, because this is going to be, this line here, all this is going to be below ground, and all of this is going to be above ground. So this is not a problem. That's going to be well hidden and not noticeable. But once you start to bring the redstone up, that's when things become a problem, because now I have redstone out to here. So what I'm going to try and do with that is I'm going to try and shrink the size of the redstone so that when I build the exterior building, I don't have to go as crazy. Like up here, of course, I have the song stuff, so this has to get covered with some sort of roof, and the smaller it is, the easier it might be to cover up the area, and I'll add some fancy designs and stuff to it after. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna have to figure out how many blocks up it is. I'm gonna keep that same height. I think it's a pretty good height, because then you walk in, and when you're standing here, you're not actually here. Let me do it like this. So you're not actually covered or anything. There is a roof right above your head, but you still have lots of clear view. It's no problem throwing a fishing rod or anything like that into it. It works really well. I'm very happy with it. So you can aim, you could aim down, you could probably aim up if you want. I haven't really tested too much. Obviously you can go too far, but you'll be concentrating so much on trying to see who gets the fish first and whatnot, then you won't worry about that. So let me go and build this platform, get things a little bit ready, and we'll continue on from there. Alright everybody, managed to get all the lights hooked up for now to all the different item filters that I need, and it's much cleaner so far, and I'm very happy with it. As you can see, I went from this kind of jumbled, unclean mess with blocks passing right beside blocks, and it doesn't look very nice. But at least this is much easier. I think it's going to be a lot easier to conceal, first of all, because it's a lot smaller. Like the footprint, for example, over here, you can see never passes the playing field edge. Over here it does a little bit, but that's not too terrible. I can build, a wall or something around after. That would be a little bit fancier. Same thing over here. Everything is exactly the same, and I'll show you how I hooked it up. So obviously these ones here weren't too bad. The ones in the very end, I just came out and then went up and wrapped up beside the the course here, leaving, of course, a 1 block gap at least for a wall, you know, just to cover some of this stuff, and maybe another wall here. And then all I did was run the next line. I had to figure out, you know, each side has to go out on its own. Each like two lights kind of connect together, so it works out well that those two go that way and these two go this way, and it makes life easier because I was able to fit, you know, this now that I've made it bigger down here. I just kind of ran the redstone wire by. I used these repeaters so that this redstone here wouldn't connect. I could probably also just use blocks, but I figured this might be easier and prevent any future issues. And it's not going to delay it in such a huge amount that you would, you know, have any problems. And then I ran it up alongside the other one in exactly the same way. It was really easy to do that too, because once I had this first one laid out, I would just place a block and then another one, and I'd just get rid of the center one. Oh, sorry about that. That's Hotty's sending me a message. We're gonna probably do some more recording and stuff later, which would be really cool. But yeah, this is kind of the basic thing for it. The redstone is hooked up to all the lights, both sides this time, which is nice, and it was way easier than trying to figure it out over there. And now that I've done it a couple of times, like, I'm really getting the hang of it a little better, where I want everything. Now you might be wondering, well, what about when I have to place a reset button? Well, the reset button won't be too bad, because first of all, I have a lot more room up here. Like, the roof is much bigger than that one was, so I'll be able to incorporate everything much nicer. Obviously, too, I need to hook up, I should probably fix the distance in between them, but I might not have to. I can just hook it up to the AND gates anyways like that, and of course I'll just follow the same thing. I'll have 2 AND gates, you know, 1 AND gate for 2 lights, the other AND gate for 2 lights, and then connect those into one. That's very simple to do, and then luckily I left myself, like I said, enough room for the reset. So at the very end, I'm thinking of the note block is where I'd like to have that come out. And what it's going to do is, since there's going to be probably a wall like above here, like it'll probably, you know, kind of be a rounded look, maybe, if I can do that. That way it would save me a lot of trouble, because then when somebody wins, like, it's hooked up, both sides are hooked up to the same thing, so it makes it very easy that I only need one exit for the reset, and I can have a reset button come down, which is why I left this gap here, because if I come down the side, I can now have blocks floating in the air here go above this whole thing. And then, of course, you know, obviously I won't be in a flat world, so I won't be limited by you know, going 3 blocks down or anything, so I'll be able to mine underneath these chests, and I'll be able to figure out some sort of thing that, you know, maybe it turns off a redstone torch underneath, like obviously, you know, if you give power to a hopper, it doesn't allow items to travel through. So maybe I could do that. I could have a hopper underneath this chest that is being given a redstone signal, and when when somebody wins, it turns off the signal. The chest will automatically empty itself, and the game has therefore been reset. And of course, all of the items, I won't let them go to waste. I'll have them go into a different filter system of some sort and come out to a different chest somewhere else that I can go and gather all the materials that I want later. So I think that's going to be kind of the basic idea of it, and how I'd like things to be set up. So for those of you that would like to see the actual building itself, I'm going to start working right now on trying to do the AND gates. Now, obviously, it was a little better over here because you know, they were a little closer, I think. Oh no, I guess I didn't actually change it that much. No, never mind, that's okay. But yeah, oh wait, was it this side? Yeah, see, this side was hooked up so that, you know, they just both go in, but it's very simple now for me to be able to add the same type of thing, but in a nicer fashion. Now you're probably wondering, what the heck is all that? So basically what it is I'm gonna have this wire is gonna connect into one side. Let me see, I do have the space, so now I can move it in, and I'll do 1, 2, 3. So I'll put one AND gate, you know, here, go over to the other side. You know what, I'll even put them a little bit nicer. 1, 2, 3, right there. So then I can have the redstone hook up into it. Very, very simple. Same thing, 1, 2, 3 here, and then that leaves me this nice gap here. I know it's not going to be perfectly centered, but 1, 2, and 3, and that should be fine. That'll be the other AND gate. So I need to be able to hook this up now, obviously. So let's make the gate itself. Obviously the output's going to be facing this way. Put 2 more torches, and this, and there we go. So that's as simple as that. Now, I need to send a signal into these blocks, of course. So I can either just do a redstone line straight out, like so. As long as it is pointing towards the block, it'll turn it off. Or I could just use a repeater as well into the block. Either one will work. So for this one, it could be extremely simple if I'm lucky. Let me just see. Oh, another thing too. Oh wait, yes, sorry. I am going to use a repeater, and you know why I'm going to use a repeater? That was almost a big mistake right there. But if I don't use a repeater, then the light, and when all the lights turn on, the song will play immediately. There will be no delay in between. And I want there to be, you know, a couple of ticks delay so that the player goes, ah, you won, and then the song plays. So I'll leave just a tiny little bit of delay there. And obviously, if I did this right, and I hook this up nicely, things should be able to connect very well. Let's just do a test. There we go. Perfect. So if I just do that over and over again, things should be fine. So I can do the same thing right here, and look at this nice space I saved. Get rid of that, and simple as that, it's now hooked up. I'll copy the same thing right here. So obviously a repeater. I'll take out one of these blocks here, and like that, and one block like that. Now see, I didn't think it would be this simple, but luckily this is kind of why I wanted to rebuild it, so that I could have a better idea in my head and make my life a lot simpler. Now I'm also debating if I should change, like in the future, like obviously right now I'm in creative and I can just fly around and look at everything, but if something ever happens in the game, if something ever changes, what I think I'm going to do is in my survival, I'm going to use a colored wool or a piece of clay to represent the wiring. So like I'll have like a red for the wire or a blue for the wire, or you know, just different things like that, so I can quickly look and see if there's any problems and where the problems are, which, you know, I think would work out pretty well. So now if I hook up this second AND gate here, we'll see. I want to, you know, keep it obviously as compact and close together as I possibly can. So the last time I did that, I actually moved it in a little bit closer. I could actually put it right here instead. So let me rebuild it right here, and you'll see why. It just saves that like a couple extra blocks if I put it here instead, which is much nicer. So obviously, boom, there we go. It's hooked up just because like I put it here and there. Very simple. I don't have to go out farther one block, so now I've got this extra space here, because obviously I will be copying the exact same thing on this side. So then if I go over to here, just so I can get my layout, I'll do 1, 2, 3. Go over to here, also 1, 2, 3, and then like I said, what is it? It's one space between. Yes, there's one block and then that, and it is more towards this side. So you know what, just to be different, I'm gonna put it over here, one block out starting there. So 1, 2, 3, and there we go. Simple as that. So you know what, give me a minute, let me finish this up, and then we can start working on, working on the sound. There we go. Nice and simple like that. Works out great. I got lots more room, as you can tell. Like you can see, I was very limited on space last time, and I like having space to move around, and you know, at least this way too. Maybe I can make the song a little bigger, because as you can see, I need to have a redstone line going in between these two, because the song has to activate when either side wins. So I don't want to have, you know, I don't need to have two different songs, so I can just have one song hooked up together. So what I would do is, you know, I'll just hook up, for example, these redstone lines together. Obviously this really won't affect anything for the other one, and we'll send the wiring, for example. Let's do it, put it this way. Although when that comes on, then I'll go to here, turn it off. So let's do it, actually, just in case, just for preventative measures, let's do this. And then that way, that if this turns on first, it won't go and it won't mess with this redstone here, which would in turn mess up, you know, what the other things. So I gotta make sure everything else is on too. Yes, because I don't want to forget that stuff. So there we go. All right, everything's off, obviously, because no one has won the game or anything like that yet. So all I did for this next section, I just wanted to have a couple of, let me get some dirt. I'm not really good with the note block thing. Like, I've never really messed around with it too much. So I just stuck with a simple, the simple sound that you heard earlier with 4 of them. I might leave that. I also made one last night that was 6 blocks long, but I had to remove it due to the size, but I could probably recreate that anyways here. So what my trick is, basically, oops, sorry about that again. I thought that was off, but apparently not. But basically, since like, the repeater powers the block, it'll allow power to go through the next one. So you can just continue. A very, very simple way to do the note blocks is just, you set this first one to no delay, the second one to 1 tick, and so on and so forth. And you can continue this either way. So this one can power this one, which could send power into this one and this one. So you could have 2 different loops of songs going at the same time. And, but I'm just going to keep it probably simple. There's 1, 2, let's say I put another one here, and we'll go this way now, and go that way. I could even do something fancy maybe and do the same song on both sides. So something like this. Let's say 1, 2, and I'll add 1 more here. I'm just kind of messing around, I could always change the song, and obviously if you guys have some suggestions, and I imagine HottyFletch and I will be working together to figure one out, as it is his idea to come up with this game. I'm just doing the redstone to it, really. And I'm probably going to need his help trying to design, a nice cover for this place as well, because it is quite big, and luckily, like I said, I did keep things symmetrical, so both sides should be easy, minus, one side is a little bit farther out than the other, just because it's weird. You can get 4 different kinds of fish, but there's like 17 different random junk items, which, makes it an odd number and makes it a little bit harder to work with when, this side sticks out more. But what I'll do is I'll just, move the other wall out a little farther. But I think it'll be nice when it's all finished, and obviously I'll work on this redstone song later. But that was pretty much it. Now, what I have to do is come up with some sort of reset switch, which that I may have to do in the overworld. But for now, let me show you my idea, test it maybe a little bit, and see how it works. So obviously, I need a redstone torch to stop the things from flowing. I need a hopper. Let's start with this. Just the basics. We'll clean out a little bit of an area. Don't mind, of course, this. So the idea is, the game, you win the game, all the lights are on one player's side, the other player is almost winning or whatever, and luckily, this signal, this is the winning signal, right? So when this is activated, that means somebody has won. So it'll travel through all of these blocks. It probably would be easier just for me to have one side, but I can just hook up, very simple to hook up something to connect these together, obviously, so that once the person wins, you just put a piece of redstone on each side, and then this signal, I can send it back down to the ground like I wanted to. It'll come over to here, or to these chests, for example. I can run it all the way underneath, which is why I left this space here, as you can see, because then I can have like a tunnel running underneath all of the chests, as not all of the chests need to have a reset button to them. I can just go along later. I think for just like speed and whatnot in the future, since I won't be needing to, I won't really need the other stuff that's in the chest. Most of it will be junk. If I could ever actually find the things, I will probably just be doing something simple like putting, item frames on it, and I'll say like, oh, this is name tags, this is that, that's that. So when I want to come after the game is over and I can collect any rare items that I find, extra bows and stuff like that, I can easily gather them and see them and whatnot, and then you don't have anything interfering, nothing's in your way, since everything will be running underneath the floor, and hopefully I'll have enough space to actually do this. And there was enough room, guys. Pretty happy about it now. It's actually quite simple what I've done here for the reset. Let me go straight to the top and show you exactly what I mean. So what I've done is at the end of the song, once it's finished playing, the redstone, of course, is going to be activated here, which sends the signal all the way down the line, which I found out, I guess you can't use this if you're going down, or if you're sending the signal down for some reason, so I have to use full blocks. I don't, maybe I'm wrong, but it didn't seem to work when I did it that way. But basically it comes down here, and now the problem I realized that I would have had is, let's say you have one regular fish you caught, but you caught 10 puffer fish, and you caught 20 salmon and everything. You need a clock that stays on long enough to allow them to completely empty, no matter how many they have in them. So I went with the hopper timer to do that job for me, so that it just keeps the signal on long enough so that all of the chests can empty themselves properly. It doesn't really matter how much of the item is actually in there. So I'll show you what I mean. I have been testing it a little bit, so making sure it works. But again, the idea is the redstone signal comes down here and powers into the block, which turns off this, which allows the items to start flowing back through the hopper timer, which turns it on and lets the signal move. So when it's off, the signal, there's no redstone here to power, but when it turns on, it'll end up over here and it'll power the signal. Mind you, sometimes there's like a little bit of a waiting time for it, but it doesn't really matter to me, I find. It still resets automatically and it gets rid of all the items. So I'll show you exactly what I mean. Let's go on this side. Both sides are hooked up though, just so you know. So let's go and drop, oh, who knows, like 11 or more, whatever, of pufferfish. Let's toss a bunch of clownfish in here as well, maybe some salmon, and we'll drop 1 raw fish. Now, technically, all the lights will come on after a certain amount of time once they've gone through their cycle. Just waiting for that last one. It is a little slow, and I might go through and work on the timer, but there you go. The song plays, activates. The torch has gone off. Right now you can see that it is still over here. It's going to swap over once this has now emptied itself. This is technically this is the waiting time in between the games, so the players are waiting, looking at the lights are still on. This turns off. All of these torches are now unpowered. Now if you watch all of these comparators, they turn off one by one until it's off, and then once that happens, this will no longer receive power from above, and the torches turn back on, and this is going to fill up, moves back over, and the game is off. As you can see, everything is back in its locked position. All the lights have been reset, and there is nothing anymore in the chests. You can come down here if you want after the game is over and grab all of the loot that you've collected. You can grab the ones from the chests up there, of course, as well. But that's it. It's pretty simple. I'm quite happy with it. It works really well now, so obviously I just need to add some water and you could start playing immediately. I can add some lights and stuff in here, and I haven't really designed an exterior yet, but I think that's what I'll do next episode. In my survival world, we'll work together. Like, I'm going to probably build this all ahead of time and get it all ready and get the redstone stuff done, and I'll dig the hole and find a good spot for it and everything, and I'll build it up. And then we can work together on trying to design an exterior. Once the building, once I've actually built the whole thing and it's in place, it'll give me an idea of what kind of room I have to work with and what kind of designs I can come up with. But I'm thinking something like there may be a tunnel along here. I'm going to make sure each player can't access the other side or anything. And there's going to probably be a wall that goes like this with archways like this going the whole way down the hallway, and I think I'll probably do that for the back side as well. Have maybe a door, and then of course the ceiling's going to be somewhere around here because that's the redstone right there. And then of course I have to extend another wall on the outside to make it fancy. Not too bad though, because it's only a couple blocks out, and like I said, this line here, everything below is all underground and everything above is above ground, so there's not too much to cover. And on this side it lines up perfectly here. This side's a little bit out, but the other side is fine too. So I don't think it's going to be too bad. Of course, I'd like to get you guys' feedback. Please feel free. Let me know what you think. If you got any suggestions, any little tweaks or anything you think could make the life easier or faster or whatever, I'm going to keep, of course, working on it too myself in my own time and trying to get things done. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I know I certainly have. It's been kind of like, it's been a fun experiment, I gotta say. Starting off with just like a tiny little thing, and then I turned into this, and then it went even bigger, but it's a lot nicer now. Everything is symmetrical and it's easy to do, and it actually works. It's like probably one of the only, it's the first mini game that I've made that's like fully automatic and everything, and works every time that I want it to. Like, I can even I'll do it again. I'll just drop a bunch of stuff in here, so you're fishing forever. You catch a bunch of the salmon and clownfish, and you can see the lights are turning on beside me right now, so your opponent's kind of freaking out at this point. You're gaining so many points and the lights are coming on. I'll still have to work on certain ones to make sure the lights turn on faster. But I can probably just mess with the repeaters a little bit and, decrease the delay a little bit, just in case, because you never know. Maybe an opponent will win because of that or something, so I don't want that to happen. And the game has been won, and slowly you wait, and then that will swap over as you're sitting there chatting with your buddy about how you just won. And once that's over again, waiting for it, I could always decrease this time too. I don't think I need that much of a delay, because it does empty pretty quickly, as you can see. There you go, all done. Game resets. and everything's turned back on, powered again. So once this is empty again, it will move back over once again, lock, and that's it. So just to, just again in case anybody wanted to see it again. But for now, I think that's good for this episode. Like I said, I'll work on building it next episode, like the actual exterior, and I'll have it working and set up and stuff by then. Hopefully I'm gonna have to probably spend a lot of time mining and getting all the materials for this, but it's gonna be a really cool game to have in the world, and it's gonna be lots of fun to play with friends. I know you could even play like with multiple people then, because I have the arenas pretty big, so you can have a bunch of people on each side. It could be a lot of fun. So once again, guys, let me know what you think. If you just want to say hi or anything at all, really, just let me know in the comments down below. So once again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Hey everybody, just wanted to say thank you again for watching this episode, and if you have any interest of watching the previous episode in this series, then feel free to click on the link displayed there. Once again, thank you for watching. See you next time.